And hey everyone, welcome to my channel. Well, in this episode of Drone Talk, I'm going to tell you which drones I am looking forward to in the year 2021. But first, let me show you this neat little book that I received recently. So this is a book on the FPV hobby by Christian Mullica. Now, before this book was published, Christian contacted me and told me about it, and I was asking him, are you in university? Are you doing a thesis or something? Because that seems pretty detailed. I've never heard of anybody writing a book on the FPV hobby as in-depth as he was. But no, he wrote this because he loves the FPV hobby, and if you are a beginner or someone not even in the hobby, this is the book for you. It's going to tell you everything you need to know about the FPV hobby, and if you're a pro, someone who's been flying an awfully long time, you're going to love it even more because it's like a novel written just for you. So I'm going to put links below to where you can find this book. It's only on a few sites right now, but check it out. I'm sure you'll love it. And with that said, let's get into episode number 12 of Drone Talk. Now, the first drone I'm looking forward to in the year 2021 is by Xdynamics. Yes, I have a hat. They sent me a hat a while ago, and you'll see me wear it in a lot of videos. So, Xdynamics is a company that has made a drone proof of concept here. This is the Evolve 1. And I did a review on it, and it's pretty darn sweet. It's not for everybody, but it's pretty darn sweet. So now they're making the Evolve 2. Let me tell you about it. All right, the first thing pretty cool about the Evolve 2 is that it's made out of carbon fiber. Well, not the whole thing, but just like the Evolve 1, it's got a beautiful carbon fiber shell all on it, and the Evolve 2 is exactly the same. It's very expensive to do that. It takes a lot of technology, and Xdynamics has perfected it, and they'll be the only guys on the market with a carbon fiber molded type frame. Next thing I'm stoked about is probably the biggest thing, and the whole reason I can't wait to get my hands on an Evolve 2 is that it has a micro four thirds camera sensor. Not only that, it also has removable lenses. I have a pile of lenses that will fit on it, so I'm looking forward to trying some different things in photography and videography. And the lenses I use are very similar to the ones on the Inspire 2, so I just take the lenses from the Inspire 2 and I can use them on the Evolve. At least I think I can. But even though I do own the DJI Inspire 2 and I do film with it now and then, it has some limitations that cause me not to use it too much, but the Evolve 2 has overcome those limitations. For instance, on the Evolve 2, it can record at 4K 120 frames per second. I can't do that on the DJI Inspire 2. And it actually records that footage in Apple ProRes format. And not only that, it records it to a CFast 2.0 card that you can stick the card in the side of the drone, just like you can on a professional camera. And then when you get home, you take your CFast card, stick it in your CFast reader. You'll have to buy one because I don't think it comes with one. And then you can download the footage onto your computer, and you better have a fast computer because it's going to be a lot of data. But man, you're finally getting into the real videography world. But the best thing about the Evolve 2 is pretty much a carryover from the Evolve 1, and that is the controller. So basically, it comes with a dual screen controller. You can see one here. This is from the Evolve 1. And up here you have a 8-inch, and down here you have a 5.5-inch. And basically, with both of them together, they're both running. They're both touchscreen. On the Evolve 1, it was not touchscreen for this one, only this one. But on the Evolve 2, they're both touchscreen. And with that, they're high-res and super bright 1000 nits that you can see them outdoors. That is a bonus. Anybody who says that's not a bonus is living in a fantasy world. I fly the DJI Inspire 2, and it does not come with a screen. I have to buy an aftermarket screen, or I buy the DJI Crystal Sky. And if you ever put a Crystal Sky on the DJI remote for the Inspire 2, it's like, oh my God, I'm lifting weights. Whereas everything is in one on the Evolve 2. So you can see why I'm pretty excited about the Evolve 2. And did I mention it has over 30 minutes of flight time? You know, my Inspire 2 has 15 minutes. And did I also mention it has a range of like 11 kilometers if you put the aftermarket antennas on the back? Did I mention my DJI Inspire 2 can just get over a kilometer? And finally, did I mention it can go like 60 miles per hour at top speed? So then you're asking, who's the Evolve 2 for then? Well, I would say the Evolve 2 fits between the DJI Phantom 4 and the DJI Inspire 2. It's not a replacement for the Inspire 2, and it's not a replacement for the Phantom 4. It fits in between. So if you're somebody who owns either of those drones, you might be interested, like me, in the Evolve 2, because it's almost as if they took the Phantom 4 and sent it to Switzerland and had those technicians who make the Swiss watches work on the Phantom 4 and turn it into a high piece of technology and then send it back, and that's basically what you get. You get a Phantom 4 that is now like super over-engineered, super technical, best of everything. Yeah, so I'm looking forward to it. And it's coming out in the month of April or May, I believe. So watch for a review of it on this channel. All right, let's go on to my next hopeful drone for the year 2021. All right, the next drone I'm looking forward to, I have my little DJI hat here. What do you think it could be? Am I giving any hints away any place? Let me put on my little DJI hat here. There we go, I'm a DJI fanboy. So, what do I think about the new DJI FPV drone coming out in the year 2021? Well, I am super excited about it. And do you know what? I've been trying to rack my brain around what they're going to call this drone. At this time, early February, when I'm making this video, I have no idea. Does anybody have any idea what you think they're going to call this drone? If you do, just post it below. So now, if you live under a rock, you probably have not heard of the DJI FPV drone coming out. DJI is very popular in the FPV world because they came out with this beautiful digital system that uses these goggles back here. You can see them over here with the red. Those are the DJI FPV goggles. So the FPV hobby is extremely popular, and they made a digital goggle system that connects with a small digital camera on a drone that has the ability to send you a beautiful digital signal back with very low latency in your goggles. Everybody said when they came out with that, why didn't they just make a drone? And that's what they've done. So now they're going to have an all-in-one system where you buy a box, just like a camera drone. You go to your local Best Buy, you buy a box, you get the goggles, you get the controller, and you get the drone, and you go fly FPV. Of course, you're going to crash the hell out of it if you don't know what you're doing. But since it's a DJI product, they made it beginner-proof because all DJI drones are made for beginners. They're all made, you can buy them off the shelf, charge up the batteries, and go fly. The drone does all the work for you. You do next to no work. If you want to crash the drone, totally up to you. So this new FPV drone is not really an FPV drone. You know, this is the FPV hobby. There's a small one. There's a bigger one here. That's the real FPV hobby. This new FPV drone that DJI is making is a hybrid drone. So it's like a Mavic and an FPV drone stuck together. So for the purposes of this video, I'm just going to say it has newbie mode, like beginner, like I know nothing about FPV, and pro mode, I know everything about FPV. If you fly in newbie mode, it's going to fly sort of like a Mavic. In other words, it's going to have obstacle avoidance, so you don't bang into things. It's going to have a lot of the same flight features. It has sensors on the bottom so that it can return to home and land nicely. It will have, you know, don't take off here, don't fly here because there's an airport nearby or anything else. In pro mode, some of those restrictions will be gone. So if you look at a Phantom or a DJI Inspire, you can turn the GPS off on those and fly them a little bit more erratically. You can't do that with most DJI drones because they try to keep it in beginner mode all the time. But on models like the Phantom and the Inspire, if you turn off the GPS, it doesn't mean you're flying in FPV mode because you don't usually have goggles on, but the drone doesn't really respond like an FPV drone. It's still pretty restrictive because the motors are very weak on an Inspire and very weak on a Phantom. In other words, the power to weight ratio on those drones is very insignificant. You know, they don't have the ability to go into a dive and then take themselves out of a dive without crashing into the ground. Whereas on an FPV drone, you can go 100 miles straight at the ground and at the last second just pull up. You can't do that on a camera drone. Impossible. Not enough power. So the DJI FPV drone coming out apparently can. So that's where they're crossing over into the FPV system. Now, everything I'm about to tell you about this drone all comes from my sources. Who are my sources? Well, my sources are viewers pretty much like yourself, but there's some of you who have a lot of information that you get from contacts who have some inside information. And doesn't mean it's all correct, but when I get it all and put it all together, well, then I turn it into something that kind of makes sense, and that's what I'm going to pass on to you here. So for this video, I'm going to focus on the one that we saw all the leaks on, which is the 5-inch. It looks like a 5-inch. It looks like this 5-inch drone coming out. And if I show you a picture, it looks like this right here. That's the one we're going to talk about in this video. So the specs on the 5-inch, I am told that it will have a speed of 150 kilometers per hour in pro mode. And I don't know I'm calling it Pro Mode. I don't know what they're going to call it, which is 90 miles per hour. So that's getting pretty close to FPV territory. Now the range on the drone, I am told the range is like 10 kilometers or more, but that doesn't make sense. That doesn't make sense. Why would they make an FPV drone go 10 kilometers or more? Keep it the same as the Mavic? I don't know. I would say the range is probably 6 kilometers, but we'll have to wait and see. For sensors, you can see in the photos that it looks like it has obstacle avoidance in the front. That will be for newbie mode. And it has sensors on the bottom for landing, because unlike FPV drones have difficulty to hover in place, and they have a much difficulty in coming back to you and doing a nice hover and landing. You have to control them. So DJI has overcome that by putting sensors on the bottom. So when the drone comes back, you probably just flick a switch, auto land, and it just comes down and auto lands. That would be also true if you flew out of range or the battery was low. The drone will just return to you and auto land, just like a Mavic, just like a DJI drone. Now this battery here is a 6S LiPo battery. So a lot of drones on the market are 6S, means 6 cells. And it's quite large in size and it has a lot of weight. And this one is at 1800 milliamp hours. The one for the new FPV drone that DJI is coming out with is actually a 6 cell as well, which is pretty darn decent. And it's at 2000 milliamp hours, so a little bit larger than this in capacity. But what is interesting about the battery is it will be a smart battery since it comes from DJI, so you can't use batteries like this unless you manipulate something. But it looks like they kept the same XT60 connector, but just reversed it. If you look at this photo here, you can see the connector looks just like the connector on an XT60. And I'm told by my sources that if you fly in newbie mode, that battery will get you 30 minutes of flight time. If you fly in Pro mode, just suck up the power by flying erratically and super fast, as we do in FPV mode, then you're getting about 15 minutes of flight time. Once again, all sources telling me this, so it could be totally bang on or totally bang off. Now, there is one thing that all the sources have agreed upon, and that is the camera. The camera will be a 4K camera shooting at 60 frames per second, which makes sense because in the FPV hobby, we need a fast frame rate because the drones move so fast. So 60 frames per second at 4K makes sense. Also, they all agree that there is no 3-axis gimbal. It's a 1-axis gimbal. The camera moves up and down. So let me explain really quick. On an FPV drone, we always point our cameras at a 45-degree angle upwards. Now, that's for the pilot camera in your goggles. The reason we do that is because when a drone flies forward, it has to tilt like this to move forward very fast. So that means if the camera kept pointing straight down, all I would get is video footage of the ground and I'd never see where I'm going. So by having the camera point up, 45 when it's sitting like this, when my drone turns 45, it's now pointing straight forward. The DJI FPV drone has overcome this. In other words, when your drone is sitting at horizon, the camera will point forward. When you fly forward, the camera will move up. So it will always keep the horizon in sight. And you will be able to fly at any speed you want because the camera is always going to keep your horizon in sight. Will that mess up your freestyle tricks? You bet it will, because all us FPV pilots are used to having the camera one way, and when we do flips and see the horizon, we know exactly what that means, what position the drone is in. So if the camera is moving at the same time while you're flipping and doing rolls and everything, that might mess things up. So it might not be a good freestyle drone. And to keep the image smooth, it's just using the Osmo 2 technology. You know, the Rocksteady. I don't know if they'll call it Rocksteady, but it's like electronic image stabilization, so it doesn't matter that it doesn't have a 3-axis gimbal. You can bounce around and everything will look really good. So now you're wondering, when is it coming out and what is the price? So when is it coming out? My sources tell me it's coming out on March 2nd. But then again, I have other sources telling me that DJI is releasing the Osmo Action 2 on March 2nd. So is it the FPV drone coming out on March 2nd or the Osmo Action 2? I guess when we see the announcement for that event, we'll know what it is, if there even is an event. Second thing is the price. For the Fly More kit for the 5-inch, I keep calling it a 5-inch because that's what everybody's calling it, for the larger drone, that the price for the goggles, the drone, I think it's 2 or 3 batteries, I'm not sure, plus some extras that you'll need with the charger and everything. It is $1,449 US. Yes, there will be less expensive versions, but that's the price I'm giving right now. Once again, I'm putting a little note down here. This information is just from my sources. It could be totally wrong, so don't worry about it at this point. But even with most of the stuff I just told you, possibly being rumor, and maybe only 50% of it is actually correct. Hey, maybe I'll hit 75%. But even with all that said, I am so looking forward to this drone. Even if it turns out to be like an FPV that it's like, it's nothing exciting for FPV pilots, but it's exciting for people not into the FPV hobby. It may cause people that aren't into the FPV hobby to slowly move over into it, because now they get a taste of the thrill and they go, this is pretty decent. This drone allowed me to transition from the camera drone hobby to the FPV hobby, and now I want to really get into the FPV hobby. So I think that's a good thing. So I'm looking forward to this drone. All right, let's go on to the next topic. Now, a lot of you are probably asking, but what about the Phantom 5 and the Mavic 3 Pro? Aren't you excited for those? Well, I am excited for them, but I don't know if they're coming out in the year 2021. Let me explain why. The simple reason is most manufacturers of drones are switching over to the commercial side of the house. That's where the money is. The consumer side, not so much. So what's going to entice DJI to launch a Phantom 5? Is there any competition in the Phantom line? There used to be the unique Typhoon H in that line of drones. It still exists, but it's not that popular anymore. That used to be the competition for the Phantom. It's not really happening, so why make a Phantom 5? Is there anybody out there who wants one? How about the Mavic? You have the Mavic 2 Pro. Where's the Mavic 3 Pro? Is DJI going to launch it? Well, if I was DJI, I wouldn't launch it. Why? Why wouldn't you launch it if you were DJI? For the simple reason of remote ID. Yes, that has messed up an awful lot in the drone industry. I know it only applies to certain countries, and right now the USA is really tackling this whole remote ID situation. But honestly, the US is a huge buyer of drones in the billions of dollars. So drone manufacturers like DJI sit back and they go, well, we could launch a Phantom 5 and we could launch a Mavic 3 Pro, but we haven't sorted out how the remote ID system is going to affect such drones. So we don't really have the technology because it's not commonplace amongst all the manufacturers, and agreed upon standards are not there yet. Now, if you're new to anything that flies in the sky remotely, like a plane, a helicopter, a drone, and you have not heard of remote ID, in its simplest of forms, all it is, it's just a system that will indicate to somebody with a need to know where the object is in the sky, the drone, the plane, whatever, and the pilot. It's going to give the location of both, and that's what the government is instituting. That's the simple form. But there's manufacturers out there who are saying, you know what, this remote ID, we want it to come from the controller. We want that to send the signal out where the drone is and the pilot. Others want the phone, your tablet that you use to send out the signal of where the drone is and the pilot. And others want just the drone. They want the drone to have the technology built into it to send out the signal of where it is and where the controller is on the ground. So it's not even agreed upon yet on what technology is going to be used and applicable in the year 2023 when all of this comes into play. And the other unfortunate thing is that the government in the USA, the USA is pretty big, so when they do something, even though it seems kind of minute for the rest of us in the world, but it really impacts industry. So the government in the USA decided that DJI has the potential, because they're a Chinese corporation, they have the potential that if the Chinese government wants to use the drones to spy on government establishments in the US, that it could happen. So for that reason, the government of the USA says, do not buy any more products from DJI in the drone market. And as a matter of fact, do not sell any technology to DJI. So DJI is getting really beat up in the US, and I think it's really crippled a lot of their plans to launch new products. But I know a lot of you are now saying, well, hang on a second, I don't live in the USA, so why is this impacting me? Why doesn't DJI make drones for the rest of the world and just forget about the USA? That's because the USA is a massive buyer of drones in the commercial market and the consumer market. So it's a lot of money to be made in the USA, and if the USA wants to make restrictions on drones and make drone manufacturers do certain things to sell drones in their country, well then it's going to apply to much of the world as well. I live in Canada. I don't have remote ID, but I swear remote ID is coming into effect in the USA in 2023, And I bet by the year 2024 or 2025, Canada will adopt remote ID as well. But I think for 2021, you know, like companies like Autel right here, who have their successful 6K and 8K Evo 2, I think they are going to start producing a drone under 250 grams, as will everybody else. So you'll see companies like VINCI, they're going to have a drone under 250 grams. Some of the other players out there that are in the budget drone category are going to start to pursue that entity. Right now, if you want to buy a budget drone under 250 grams, they are pretty much crap. The cameras on them are no good because there's no gimbal. No one has figured out, other than DJI, how to make a drone under 250 grams and sell it for very little money. But I bet you in 2021, that's coming. But there are some strange companies out there like Skydio. Skydio gets away with a lot in the drone industry because they're kind of like Apple. They say, you know, this was designed in the US, even though their drones, parts of the drones are made in China. They're assembled in the USA. They employ people in the USA to assemble them. The technology for the drone, the software is in the USA. So they get away with a lot. And Skydio might just release a new drone in the year 2021 that might be a pro version of the Skydio 2. So Skydio 2 Pro, because the Skydio 2 is lacking in many ways, and there's a lot of things that can make it better. So I think they might release a pro version. That's just a guess on my behalf. So with all of that said, I can see that the year 2021 is going to be the year of drones under 250 grams. We'll see a lot of the players playing in the market and getting their drones out. All right, let's get on to the next topic. All right, let me take a few minutes to pass on some points about the channel that will be applicable to you, the viewer. The first topic is emails. A lot of you like to send me emails. I get in the hundreds of emails per day. The problem is, you, the viewer, write to me, and so does the manufacturer, distributor of products. Everybody's writing to me through the same email account. That means since I have a Gmail account, Gmail tries to help me out by taking a lot of that email and just tossing it into spam or junk. So if you write to me and I don't respond, your email probably went into spam or junk. And the same goes true with manufacturers who write to me about reviewing products. I just don't have time to go into the spam or junk folder, pull out the emails that probably make sense, that weren't spam or junk. I used to be able to, but I don't have time anymore. So if you don't get a response from me, that's probably why. Second thing on the email topic is please keep your emails short because honestly, I don't have a lot of time to read them. So if you write 7 or 27 paragraphs, I'm probably not going to read them all. I'll probably jump to the last line where your name is and see if you ask the question down there. That's a reality of having a YouTube channel. So keep your emails short. Next topic is comments. If you post a comment under this video or any of my videos on YouTube, do you ever notice that I always give a like and a heart? The reason I do that is it lets me know that I've read your comment. YouTube doesn't have a way to show me that I've read your comment. It only has a way to show me if I've responded to your comment. So if you get a heart or a like, it means I read it. I may not respond to all the comments because I just don't have the time. So a lot of times I just heart, like as I read them. And I don't have time to respond, especially if it requires that I go and grab some information from someplace. I just don't have the time to do it. So just let it be known that a heart or a like is because I've read your comment. Now, if I don't heart or like your comment, it always means the same thing. It means one of two things. It means I didn't read your comment, or it means I read your comment, but I just goofed up. I didn't heart or like it. So yeah, I don't know. So 90% of the time I get it right. Next item is budget drones and reviewing them during the winter months. A lot of you love it when I review budget drones, and I don't mind reviewing them. You know, it's more of a cost to me because a budget drone, budget drones are drones I consider to be under like $300 US. So I have to get the drone. Then I have to review it, and it takes hours to review. I have to create a video, edit it, publish it. So it's a lot of work on my part for very little return with a budget drone. But I don't mind doing it because not a lot of people do it on YouTube, or not a lot of people do it on YouTube very well. So I don't mind doing it. But I won't review budget drones in the winter because budget drones fly like crap and film like crap in the wintertime. The cold affects them, and many times I have in the past reviewed a budget drone in the cold weather and said right at the beginning of the video that the video is going to be crap, the drone's going to fly like crap, and yet, I'll get 90% of comments saying, oh, that video is all full of jello, or that drone is like shaking all over the place. So it's not worth my time. So that means when the weather warms up, I'll start reviewing budget drones again. Now on another point, a lot of you have asked me to review many more RC cars and trucks because you know I love RC cars and trucks, but I'm keeping it to a minimum. In the wintertime, I can review more because, well, it's winter and I can't get out and fly all the time, so you'll see a few more RC cars and trucks happening over the winter time. Some of you have asked me to review helicopters because I never had a helicopter on the channel. I've never flown a helicopter, so I have no idea. It would be funny to watch me making a video of me flying a helicopter because I'm sure I'll destroy that thing. Some have asked for me to review more RC planes. I don't mind RC planes. I've never found the thrill of RC planes flying them. I love gliders. I just love the way gliders just cruise through the air, especially in the late evenings. But as for planes, just going around in a circle and a figure eight, nah, no excitement for me there. And they take up a lot of space in my tiny little basement. So we'll see. We'll see if I review more RC planes coming up in the future. Another item is some of you are going to post below this video and say, hey, tell us about these hoodies. And I know I'm going to see that because they've changed names on them and different design. So around Christmas time, I started redesigning the hoodies. I left the old hoodies on the Teespring website. I think you can access it below. Anyways, I've left the old hoodies there. Plus I'm making new designs, but I was making them more for me. So I have a bunch of designs that are like this one. You know, I fly Mavic, so there's a whole series of Mavics. So I have a Mavic Pilot hoodie that I wear, and I have one for Phantom, for the Inspire, for the Evo. You already saw for FPV. So I'm going to probably carry on making a series of these hoodies because a lot of people ask for them. And if you'd like to buy yourself one, the links are someplace below. Look for the Teespring thing. And the last item would be these here, Captain Drone stickers. I don't know how many requests I've received for these Captain Drone stickers. I cannot sell them on any store like Teespring or whatever because they want a profit for themselves. And it means if I sell a sticker like this, it's going to go for like $5 for one sticker, which is ridiculous. I'm not going to do that. So I spoke to my wife and we came up with a plan that we are going to give away stickers. Yes, well, actually, she's going to do all the administration side of writing out the envelopes and sending the stickers to you. All you're going to have to do is send me some information. Watch for a future video on that and all the details will be explained. All right, so I think I'm starting to lose my voice a bit, so I'm going to sum up and end this video now. So basically, for the year 2021, I'm excited for the Xdynamics Evolve 2, the DJI FPV drone that's coming out. If they come up with two, I'll be even more excited. That'd be pretty cool. And any new really good drone under 250 grams. Any new drones that come out in the year 2021 that are worth their weight, obviously will be on this channel, reviewed by me, because that's exactly what I do. So just keep your eyes and ears open for future videos on anything new. But for now, if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up, and I will catch you in future videos with many more drone reviews. Take care.